Hello, my name is David Nolan. I'm the host of Actuary Voices, the podcast from the American Academy of Actuaries. Today, I'm speaking with Evelyn Boswell, the National Association of Insurance Commissioners' first Chief Diversity Officer. Evelyn, welcome to Actuary Voices.
Thank you so much for having me, David. I appreciate the invitation.
Oh, well, we appreciate you taking the time. We often ask people at the beginning to tell us a little bit about themselves before we dive into what they're doing now. So do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself, where you're from and your interests growing up?
Sure. I'm originally from Arkansas, a small town in Arkansas. I went to school there, and right after graduating from Arkansas State University with an undergrad in Health Services Administration. I am one of those people who am not working in the healthcare field with my degree. So I moved to Kansas City without a job and just started looking for opportunities. And I have to tell you, David, it has been so long ago that, my first opportunity was working for an insurance company, paying medical claims for an insurance company. And so from that, my career aspirations just went varied directions.
That's great. So what kind of jobs, what kind of roles have you had since you moved to?
Right after that insurance organization that I left, I went to what we called Allied Signal Aerospace. And I was on a team making non-nuclear parts for nuclear weapons.
Okay.
Actually, before I got my credentials, the FBI had to check my background, and I don't know why it took so long. It should not have. There's nothing there
you got
to
some dark
uncover,
secrets.
There's nothing there to uncover. I think it was because I had such a boring life, right?
They didn't believe that.
But yeah, I before I could get clearance, I worked in finance. And so once I was cleared, that was the end of the Cold War. And with the Department of Defense, I was severanced. So last one in, first one out. So I went looking for other opportunities. I have spent over 20 years at Hallmark Cards in human resources. Started out recruiting and then employee relations and then HR manager. Left Hallmark Cards and went to GEHA, Government Employees Health Association. Some people may be familiar that they put their name on Arrowhead, our stadium, our football stadium here in Kansas City.
Yep.
Right. So worked there for a little bit, actually making sure that equal employment opportunity records were submitted to the government. And once I left there, I worked in recruiting for the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City. And so I do have a heart on my sleeve. I looked across the street from the Federal Reserve Bank out of one of the windows and saw the Ronald McDonald House charity here in Kansas City. And so I said, you know what? I need to leave what I'm doing here at the Fed. And I need to start HR at Ronald McDonald House. And so I was one of the first ones to introduce what human resources would look like for nonprofits such as Ronald McDonald House Charities. And so I did that for a while before joining the NAIC.
That's very interesting. I actually live around the corner from one of the Ronald McDonald houses in DC.
Right. Yeah.
It's quite close to Children's Hospital, and they put up families there who are caring for children and so on.
It's a grand opportunity for you, your team, your neighbors to volunteer and serve the families dinner or lunch because they really are living out of a hotel life entity when they're having their children in the hospital for long stays.
Right. Yeah, they do very important work. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, okay, that is certainly one of the more varied job descriptions that I've heard and that we've had on Actuary Voices. I commend you.
Thank you.
For constantly, I guess, reinventing your role and starting anew. So, but you ended there with your move to the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, and I'm going to shorten that to NAIC now. And could you tell us a little bit about the role you took on there? Because I believe you were the first Chief Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Officer. And this was about, 4 or 5 years ago?
This was almost 4 years ago this September that I
Hmm.
took on the role as Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion here at the NAIC. It was during the COVID period when I was interviewed,
Mm.
and it's pretty hard. If you consider diversity, equity, and inclusion, it truly is a relational
Hmm.
type of relationship that you're falling into with any organization. You want to get to know the staff, you want to get to know who you're reporting to. And that's very difficult when everyone's on shutdown. So, without having a DE&I office, that's what I had to build virtually. And so we started out, David, with a 13-member DE&I council. And that 13-member DE&I council represented all levels of employment here at the NAIC and all three of our locations. So
Hmm.
we were able to get people who were interested in volunteering to help me with the initiatives that I needed to implement to get us started. And so to get us started, it was just all foundational. And so what we needed to do is have people who would be ambassadors to say, here's what the strategy is. And they would take that information back to staff meetings, and that helped get the word out. I don't know about you, David, but a lot of times when you put things on email, some people don't read emails,
Really?
right?
That's never happened to me, Evelyn, I promise you.
Well, unfortunately, you would put your strategy out on an email and people would still have questions. What is this strategy about? What are we trying to do here at the NAIC with DE&I? So that's how we got started with our ambassadors who are members of the council to help spread the word about we're looking at a strategy that's going to focus on the workforce, workplace, our members, and our community. We're looking for initiatives who will help support our customers in this vein. And truly, what is diversity? What is equity? What is inclusion? Let's define that, and then let's move from here. And so we got a lot of support. We got a lot of questions, and we
Hmm.
got opportunities to communicate via different media to share what DE&I is across the three locations. So it made it for a very interesting time being on
Right.
lockdown to share it with someone. I really want to know your story, David. I really want to
Yeah.
know your story, Evelyn. Tell us. And it's all over. What we use is WebEx. It was all over WebEx, which is kind of impersonal when you're
Hmm.
really needing to understand what that is under attack, what we're trying to do positively for it in the workforce.
Great. And one of the first major initiatives you had was to develop a framework. Isn't that
Yes,
right?
yes.
Can you tell us how that came about? Was that part of the original charge, or did that develop as a result of the initial round of work you were doing?
Actually, it developed when I'm talking with our communications department because I truly needed to partner with communications for them to share what my vision was at that
Mhm.
time. If you think about 3.5 years ago and you're just starting a division, what is it I wanted the staff to know? And so, as I'm talking with the director of communications, I'm saying, I want to do this, I want to do this, and I want to make sure we end up at this spot. And she said, sounds like we need to build a framework. I said, that's exactly it. So here's what I'm looking at. So we decided on those 4 pillars I just mentioned. I want to make sure that we have our workforce in mind. Whatever it is that we do, how positively does it impact our workforce? How does it impact the environment? At the time, it was we were living in our own homes and working out of our own homes. So how is it going to impact the environment in which we live, our workplace? And then our members, of course, they are our customers. They are number one on our list of priorities. So how will what we do at the NAIC impact our members? And so what I told our members is that what we do at the NAIC will be a model for what you do in the departments of insurance. So use us as your guinea pig if you like. If it is successful, fantastic. We'll give you the process by which we accomplished our goals. If we failed, we'll let you know we failed and how it still may be successful for you. And then our last pillar, David, was the community. Because we were living in a COVID period, I got to thinking about the little school that's 2 blocks down from our central office here in Kansas City. And the students had no internet, right? It's like, how can we do something about that? How can we invest in the community to make a positive impact for the next generation, others who are less fortunate than we are in this industry? How can we make a difference? Because if you remember at that time, there were a lot of protests going on. And with those protests, there were demands. And at that time, large corporations would say, well, we promised to do this and we promised to do that. And 4 years later, did they really follow through on those promises? And I'm here to tell you, David, we here at the NAIC, we want to make sure whatever we said we were going to do, we're going to do to help our community partners.
That's great to hear because, yes, you're right. We did hear an awful lot of very high-sounding words and promises, and some certainly have come through, but others have not. And I know that some people feel let down by that. Others are cynical and feel, well, what do you expect? But it's the actual following through on the promises that can help overcome that cynicism. The Academy's annual meeting, Vision Tomorrow, takes place October 15th and 16th in Washington, D.C.
You know, the Academy meeting is the place to be. It's, first of all, the attendees are just everybody you want to talk to, the folks that are plugged in the leadership of the profession, but also those that are really touching and influencing public policy. This is really why I come every year.
From my perspective, it is really time well spent. The sessions are excellent. All the presenters are top-notch, and I always come away from the meetings with a better understanding of how I can do my job better and be a better actuary.
For more information and a full agenda, please visit our website, actuary.org. You mentioned the fact that you hoped that the model you developed at the NAIC would become something that could be used by insurance departments around the country. Do you have any stories or anecdotes that show how that worked out?
I do. Thanks for asking. It was probably during our first year that I introduced book clubs to our senior leaders because we have to work at the top to make sure, David, that they understand what diversity, equity, and inclusion is all about and that they understood what our strategy was. So I thought one of the best ways to introduce what DE&I is to have a book club with our senior leaders. So I chose a book. And I just happened to mention it on a call. There was a nationwide call. Commissioners were on the call. Deputy directors were on the call. Here I am, the new person, and I'm speaking up for the first time. And I thank them for inviting me to the call. And I said, yeah, right now at the NAIC, our senior leaders are reading a book. And we're going to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're dividing the leaders up into pods or clubs. We're going to have the council facilitate, but we want the senior leaders to truly be the facilitators of the discussion. I shared that, and the state of Washington called me and said, please share with us how you did that, because that's all I'm hearing. Your senior leaders talking about how great the book club was. Oh. And so with that was my first opportunity to share with the state of Washington the name of the book, the author. Here are the questions that we asked within the pods, within the book clubs. And then the final question was, after reading this book, what implications were there for the NAIC? And so then the senior leaders got to talk about, well, this is what I got from the book, and I think this is what we can do at the NAIC. So that was engagement, that was inclusion, and a lot of education going on at the same time. And with that, Washington took note of that. We sent them our process. We have nothing to hide from our members. We want you not to waste time building questions. We don't want you wasting time on even looking for a book. We'll recommend books for you. And so we gave all of that information to the state of Washington. I received an email back to tell me how successful it was for them and how they want to continue it. So I was very proud of that moment.
Yeah, that sounds great. But yeah, what you said at the beginning is that your senior leadership were going on about how great it was. That meant that there was buy-in within the NAIC in a big way as well. Because without those ambassadors spreading words to their peers, it may not go anywhere.
That's it, David. I remember in one of my first staff meetings with the senior leaders here at the NAIC, I asked the question, who's responsible for DE&I here at the NAIC? One leader spoke up and said, well, you are. We hired you. And another intelligent leader said, we all are. And that was the correct answer. We
That's
all
right.
are responsible for DE&I.
Yeah, because here at the Academy, our DE&I strategy has got the rather high-sounding goal of infusing DE&I into everything that we do.
That's right.
Which basically means that somebody on every call, at every meeting, has to be thinking about diverse voices or inputs and so on and so forth. And if one person doesn't do it, it's down to somebody else to say, "Hang on, what are we missing here?"
That is so correct. And
Yeah.
you're absolutely right about that. It's not a hard thing. At first you think, how are we going to put DE&I in everything we do? But before long, because you have ambassadors, people will stand up and say, yeah, I see how we can take a DE&I lens to this solution.
Right.
And it happens. It just becomes a part of you.
Sure.
It becomes a part of your language.
Yeah, it's a way of thinking.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all it is. And as you say, at the big outset, it can appear to be a very arduous goal, but as you do it more and more, it becomes part of it, and it doesn't seem like a big lift.
Yes.
And the thing is to strive. We will fail, but just keep going.
One step at a time, David. You have to keep moving. And there has to be a goal in place. We have just completed our 3-year goal for DE&I. Like I said, we're now at the 3.5-year mark, about to celebrate 4 years in September. And so right now I'm putting together the strategy for the next 3 to 5 years. What is it we should be accomplishing for DE&I at the NAIC in the next 3 to 5 years? And so we started out with foundational principles, making sure there were programs in place to support what we were doing, actually getting interest and including our staff in the discussions with a lot of the initiatives that we have. And so with that, since that was programmatic, it's now time to move to what Deloitte calls the next level of their DE&I strategy, and that's leader-led. So we want to move now to where it's not just me or the senior leaders leading the DE&I conversations. It is truly then supervisors, middle managers who are truly leading the cause for DE&I.
And you sound confident that you have the buy-in from those people to take it to the next level?
I'm very confident we will accomplish that goal.
That's great.
Yes.
Let me take a moment to remind listeners that you're listening to Actuary Voices, the podcast from the American Academy of Actuaries. On this podcast, we talk to Academy volunteers and leaders, as well as friends of the Academy, about what excites them about their work, both professionally or as an Academy volunteer. Please subscribe to Actuary Voices on your preferred podcast platform. I want to widen the conversation a little bit because you talked about the initiative and the framework that you have for the NAIC. And the NAIC is a large, important organization. And then you have spread it to some of the insurance departments around the country. But the bigger picture is that insurance companies, the insurance industry writ large, has an enormous influence on people's lives. And I know that the NAIC has some committees working on race and insurance specifically, but there may well be very many more. Is there work afoot to work with insurance companies to try and see how insurance coverage and so on could be changed or should be changed?
So actually, David, since I've started here, you recognize that we have 3 national meetings each year, and those are open to the public. And I've started adding DE&I Leadership Breakfast. So you have to get up very early in the morning to catch this breakfast. But the goal is that the insurance industries, trade associations, regulators can all come together and hear an aspect of DE&I. And I'm so glad for the question, because at our next national meeting, the summer national meeting in Chicago, we will have 2 commissioners on a panel along with 2 others who will be moderating and asking questions of them about immigrant workers' financial planning gaps. And so the ask at the end of it is, how can insurance companies be more flexible with people who are non-English speakers? How can they be more flexible with values that other cultures have who may not see the importance of life insurance, let's say, or homeowners insurance or car insurance? How can they have a customer service call center that may have people on the other end to accept the call in the language of that particular customer? So all of that comes together, David, at our summer national meeting. So there will be times when I will be engaging insurance, the insurance industry, but not always, because that truly isn't my sphere. My sphere really truly will be the staff at the NAIC and our members. Now, I try to tiptoe into waters to bring and engage others to the conversation, to the table. And so another opportunity would be our DE&I conference. It truly is another opportunity to have those in the insurance industry to be sponsors or to come in and support DE&I for the industry. So in our small little sphere here, we're inviting others. It's a free conference. We're inviting others to come and to share. And we just had our 4th annual DE&I conference here in Kansas City earlier this year. So we do welcome others to come to the table and to share. I let people know I don't have all the answers to how insurance should be better. So please don't look to me for that answer. But what I can do, I call myself a connector. I try to connect people together who do know more than I about the industry, about this particular space that I'm in with even DE&I, to let's share and talk about what are some of the issues that you see and who can resolve it. Last year, we had a national meeting in Seattle, and we had on panel people who wanted to talk about transgender rights and issues with medical plans, with their medical insurance plans. And we had a president of one of the insurance companies on panel as well. We had a commissioner on panel. We had people from the transgender community on panel. And at one moment, the president of the insurance company said, "Oh, I can take care of that problem. I can get that changed right away." Those are the kinds of yays that we're looking for. You know, when people say, "I can help this community, it doesn't take a lot. I'm sorry you've been bumping your head against this wall. I can take care of that. I can remove the barrier for you." So that's what we're looking for when we put programs together, such as our national conferences on DE&I when we're at the national meetings.
That's great. It is remarkable, though. I've got several examples of policymakers or senior leaders just not knowing that there was a problem, and once they actually hear about the problem, they say, "Oh, that's an easy fix," and they'll fix the easy pieces easily. There are more structural and difficult issues that clearly need fixing as well. But it's so nice to get the initial wins, because that gives people momentum and confidence that it's worth continuing on. Well, as you look back on nearly 4 years now, what do you feel most proud of your time at the NAIC?
That is such a hard question for me to answer, David. I am proud of all of the work we've done. In fact, I tell people to go out on our website and look at our annual reports, and they can find that under NAIC About, and then look at diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we put that annual report out there so that our members and the rest of the public can see what it is that we're doing. We're trying to be transparent, and also to show them you can do it too. Like I said, we're trying to be a model for our members, but we hope to also be a model for insurance departments, insurance agents, regulators, anyone out there who has access to helping people close their financial gaps with insurance. So here's how easily you can understand the culture of another, and we'll show you how. I am most proud of the staff here at the NAIC. A lot of people may be jealous of me. They've expressed their jealousy of being at the NAIC because they see the support that I get. And you recognize that we've had a new CEO announced at the NAIC. The CEO has just picked up the mantle and carried on, and promising even bigger and better to come in this space. And I'm looking forward to working with him on this. But absolutely, we have had support from the very top, our senior leadership team, and the staff. In fact, you're aware that affinity groups grow from the ground up, right? And so we now have 3 affinity groups. That shows you in 3.5 years, the interest, the dedication, the commitment of the staff here at the NAIC. They truly want to be involved, engaged, and they want to learn about others, and they want to make an impact.
Well, that's very reassuring to hear, and I think you're rightfully proud of that, because it's not always you walk into an environment, a workplace environment, where you've got a new role and you're welcome with open arms. Sometimes it can be a bit of a struggle. And I'm not saying you didn't have any struggles, but it sounds like things are going very well.
They are.
And sorry, you mentioned the DE&I conference, and that there was one in Kansas City. And when is the next one?
The next one, we're planning. We don't have a date or a venue time. They will be in Kansas City. We're just putting out our RFPs for a venue.
Gotcha.
This was the biggest in attendance conference we've ever had, David. We had about 480 people in person and about 300 people online. And
I was one of the online
Were
people.
you? Thank you for being in attendance virtually. I appreciate that. And I hope it was a great experience for you.
It was a very good experience.
Thank you. And so we try to learn from one year to the next. How can we make it even better? And so with next year being our 5th year, not that the attendance is really what I'm going for, that we have even more people in person or even more people online. What I'm looking for is the quality. Because as you recognize, not all the time will DE&I offices stay open in a corporation for more than 2 years. So it will be a great opportunity for us to celebrate the hard work of the NAIC at its 5th year conference next June. And so we're looking forward to making that a big splash. In that, I mean, education like you've never seen, awareness like you've never seen. We've gotten survey responses back. I follow up on those responses and I look to see how can we make it even bigger and better. What is it people want to know about? How do people really want to be more engaged? So this year our theme was stand up, speak out. And that truly is a call for us when we see something that's not positive and not friendly for ourselves, our neighbors, our coworkers, our family. Speak out about it. Make a change where you are. You don't have to have the title of diversity officer. Make a change where you are.
And sadly, that's often something people feel most trepidation about, is that speaking out or sort of speaking up even when they see something.
And so that's when I say find an advocate. Find a confidant you can share with, and hopefully that advocate can be a voice for you.
Yeah. And yes, and being willing to play that role of an advocate is very important.
Yes.
Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you would like to go through?
Well, I think we covered a lot of information, David, but I usually close with a quote. I'm not really sure whose quote this is, so I am borrowing it from someone. But I use it as a call to action, and that is, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So we have to be the change. Nothing will change unless we change. So nothing changes if nothing changes. And I look in the mirror each morning to say, okay, what change will I make today? Sometimes it's to be a little bit more patient, be a little bit more quiet, listen a lot more, invest. We've been blessed with a lot. This is a great opportunity. This is a great platform. So my platform is to share with others to invest in one another. However you can, your time, your talent, your tithe, however that may be to you, invest.
Those words are worth holding on to. Yes. Evelyn Boswell, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, David. I appreciate the opportunity.
Today, I was speaking with Evelyn Boswell, the National Association of Insurance Commissioners' first Chief Diversity Officer. My name is David Nolan, and I'm the host of Actuary Voices, the podcast from the American Academy of Actuaries. Visit our website, actuary.org, for a wealth of information about the work that the Academy does, including information about our forthcoming annual meeting, Envision Tomorrow, which takes place in Washington, D.C. on October 15th and 16th. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And of course, please subscribe to this podcast on your preferred podcast platform.